welcome everybody to a new episode of the Pondcast. Today's episode, Pokemon Day Review. I'm your host, Draco, and joining me today is Sun Ryu.
Hello.
Guren.
Welcome.
And Chase.
What's cracking, everybody? Hope everybody's having a good day.
And we're gonna get into it. So, Pokemon Day came and went, and of course announcements were abound. And we're just going to focus on the meat and potatoes of the whole thing, which is the Pokemon raid announcements as well as the DLCs. And we're also going to touch base on the Pokemon anime announcement that's coming, as well as a rumor that I heard about future anime episodes. So starting off, I know I was streaming with Subarashi, and we were watching the whole presents, and the moment they dropped the new raid that was starting, the moment the Pokemon Presents was over, was jaw-dropping to begin with, because honestly, Walking Wake was amazing looking, but I have to say that Iron Leaves, for me, left a little bit to be desired for, because it just looked like Virizion to me, like a metal Virizion, and I'm like, it's underwhelming. But their signature moves are incredibly powerful. And as soon as the Pokemon Presents was over, I actually went right into raids and picked up a pair myself. So, what were your thoughts when you guys saw the two raid Pokemon that they announced?
Yeah, so I actually like both of them. I think there's merit in both of them. Walking Wake, I like the dinosaur aspect and that sort of prehistoric raptor-y look. I think they did really well with that. I don't think anybody expected that. Hydro Steam, phenomenal move, absolutely busted. 100% without a doubt. I also like Iron Leaves quite a lot because it does lend to that future theming, because as we progress with things, especially if we use cars as this example, they get sleeker, they look more simplistic, when in actuality they are probably more complicated. Some of them tend to get smaller because of things like aerodynamics, so I think that's what they kind of wanted to try and do with Virizion, well, with Iron Leaves, because if I'm not mistaken, Iron Leaves is slightly smaller than Virizion. I like its move. It's a really cool looking move. I don't like the 3-blade bit though for the animation. I think that makes it look like a propeller. Bit on the fence about that. But design wise, I think they're both really solid designs.
Honestly speaking, I'm gonna have to agree with you on the Iron Leaves. It is a little bit underwhelming, and I've heard it a lot. People calling it like, oh, it's literally just like a robot Virizion, and like I do understand that it is. I still think it looks cooler compared to regular Virizion, so like I think that's a good step in the direction that they were going for. The Walking Wake, I was not expecting it to be something like a raptor. Honestly, like I was thinking it was gonna be something a lot more similar to what we saw in the book. But I mean, I like it. It's great. It's a dinosaur. It's another dinosaur Pokemon, basically. And like, I think it would have been cooler if it was still on like 4 legs as well. They could still give it like that kind of dinosaur look, I guess. But like, I'm digging the raptor thing, especially since I saw a meme of somebody posted. It's that Jurassic Park meme with the 3 raptors, you know, the guy holding his hands out. It's basically like what the trainer and then like 3 Walking Wakes. I was like, that is hilarious. I love it.
I actually like the design of both of these that they show, especially some with Arley's. This is the grass psychic type, and the signature move for it is really good. And the design, the move fit, I think it's cool for the looks. And then for Walking Wake, just like I agree with Guren, I like the raptor look, the dinosaur that they gave Sukim. This move, I like it, and the ability is really good though.
I do have to say that the Water Dragon typing is very strong typing, but that also means that anybody who's using Freeze Dry is going to be able to wreck that guy easily.
But that's only like 1 or 2 Pokemon right now in the game?
Then they started talking about the connectivity between Pokemon Go and Pokemon Scarlet Violet with the postcards that you get from other players from around the world. When you port those postcards into Scarlet and Violet, you'll get a different skin Vivillon, which I was wondering if how they were going to do that with this game, considering that they did bring it in. But the Vivillon that we got, which is native now to the Paldea region, is the event Vivillon that we got a few years back, or one of them. So now the only one that's hard to get is the Pokeball colored one.
Have any of you actually tried it out yet, though? Like, how it actually works?
I don't think it was implemented yet, but supposedly once you update both and connect your Scarlet and Violet game to Go, you can start sending postcards over, which will turn into Vivillons.
Oh, okay. Because like I was trying to figure out like how it works, like whenever it does drop, or if it did drop already, like you just send your postcard and then like what does it like change all the Vivillon in the game or something, or does it actually give you like a Vivillon with that?
No, I think it's only specific one, and depending on their.
Yeah, I think it's a 1-to-1, and according to the presents, it's active now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's just an update. So.
Yeah, so that's something I thought was quite cool as well, because, you know, that way, regardless of where you are in the world, if you buy the games, everybody gets the same Vivillon with the base game. And if you play Go, then you get access to all the other variants, which I think is pretty cool. It sort of drives more people to play Go, which I think is a really good idea. And that way, everybody's got a smartphone in their pocket. So you can literally go online and you can find people with friend codes from different parts of the world. And you don't have to hunt through the actual games to try and get these different Vivillon forms, because I found that one of the hardest things when I was collecting them back in X and Y was trying to find people to trade with, because you'd get like 100 Meadow form, but the Savannah form was like 1 in a million. I don't think they could have implemented it in a better way.
And then, of course, they announced the early spring for getting Gimmighoul roaming form.
Okay.
So that's going to be fun to have in there, especially for me being a living Dexter.
I wonder if it'll have the same stats as chest form. You know, well, I mean, granted, you can put it into Scarlet. Probably not, right? It just says you unlock it to capture in Pokemon Go, right?
Yeah, you catch it in Pokemon Go, then you can probably send it over via the transfer. Whether or not you can get it into Pokemon Home, different story. But you'll at least be able to get the form.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll let us know. I'm sure they'll let us.
It was bound to happen eventually. Glad that they mentioned it sooner rather than later. So
moving into the next portion, we are into the DLC territory where you see a bus going through the field. You see the little wind chime, which is reminiscent of Chimecho, apples for Applin. There's little things, and it's going to a festival of sorts. And I'm gonna bring your attention to the first thing, where you'll see people in their traditional yukatas and stuff like that, which I find very interesting, because it's a very specific feel that they're going for this particular look. Even in the artwork, you'll see the characters wearing yukatas and kimonos, which isn't very typical of GameFreak when it comes to this game. But a lot of it looks like it's centered around masks. One of the early things that you also do see is the 3 statues as they're running up these stairs into this festival area. And
can I pause you there real quick?
Yep.
Now that you mentioned the part where they're running up the stairs, I took a look at the trailer again last night. I didn't realize, if you actually look at those 2 kids running up the stairs, they have the exact same like yukata kimonos on as the new characters that you do see on the promotional art.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that's why I was tripping out. I was like, wait, hold up a second. That's the exact same outfit. Like, I was like, what the heck? Okay, let's go.
That is where they kind of got it.
See, I disagree with you there. I don't think they're starters, because according to the story that part 1 is based off of, the child meets the dog, the monkey, and the talking pheasant at different parts of his journey. So I think they're going to act more like a legendary trio to help guide the player along their journey through the first DLC.
Something that's kind of screaming at me right now is one of the first scenes you see at the festival is them dropping ice cream or some kind of a frozen treat. And if you look at the colors, you've got red, you've got blue, you've got green. So you've got your starter colors. You also have yellow for Pikachu, right? And then an off color, like a darker brown-ish type color. I'm not going to say brown, more definitely like a reddish color. But when you play the video forward, you'll get to stop and see the masks. And then you see the red mask, the blue mask, the green Oni mask, which comes into play later. But you also have a Pikachu and an Eevee mask. I'm not entirely sure why they are tying Pikachu and Eevee to this particular presents, color-wise and everything. Because looking at this, like, we already know it's a Pokemon game. So why put Pikachu and Eevee in it? what's the big connection with those two with this expansion? So I'm thinking we might see something in part 1. I'm hoping, again, I threw out there that I firmly believe that we're still going to get an evolution. Maybe we'll get it in the DLC part 1. I don't know, but it's just odd that they're throwing these two characters back in your face when we already know we're watching a Pokemon Presents.
Small theory now that you mentioned this, I have seen a couple of videos talking about the mask and what kind of significance they might have. So I think what everybody is speculating is that we're going to get some kind of new terrestrializing gimmick, right? Which if you look at the mask, you would think, oh, maybe we're gonna have some kind of Sentai, Super Sentai gimmick, right? If they put on the mask, they go all superhero like. But then when I think about it that way, now that you're mentioning why are they putting Eevee and Pikachu in there for their mask? It's wait, what if Eevee and Pikachu also have some kind of relation to that, or they have a new thing with that terrestrializing, or that possible new terrestrializing gimmick? Imagine that, right? Maybe they get some kind of form change, something similar to Mega Evolution but not. Oh my god, we just thought about this now. What if the form change for Pikachu specifically was Gorochu?
Yeah, so do you mind if I just give my thoughts on the DLC themings before I answer that question?
Okay.
So, as much as I like that East Asian and Southeast Asian motif and all those themes that go with it, I think they are overdoing it a little bit, because we did have, starting off with Sword and Shield, we had the Isle of Armor, which was a similar motif. We had Legends Arceus, which in itself it was an ancient region, so it makes sense to have that motif. And although I think this DLC 1 is going to tie into Legends Arceus in some capacity, because there are a lot of similar themes that sort of do tie them together, I'm not a big fan of it. I think having a region based on the Iberian Peninsula, they could have leaned more into other cultures and gone that way, but I can understand why they did it. And then just about the Eevee and the Pikachu, I think those might just, I don't want to say they're just there because they're the mascots, but if we look at the other masks, we can clearly see the dog mask, the monkey mask, and what we can assume is the pheasant mask. Those all look very Power Ranger, Kamen Rider-esque, so I think we're going to have different forms for those three, maybe Ogerpon as well, and that's why it's carrying its mask around. So we could see similar forms for Pikachu and Eevee.
I'm not sure thinking. I don't know what they're planning to do with it. Yeah, it's interesting when they're showing it, so
I mean, I'm totally wishful thinking. I really am, that we get Gorochu as a variant, as a regional fake. We get an evolution, that an actual proper evolution and not something tied to the gimmick. Part of my problem with what happened with Gen 8 is they tied Eevee and Pikachu to the gimmick, and moving forward, we're not going to get that. I want something that will persist throughout the generations. If they're going to continue doing Eevees, I want them to do all of the other evolutions that should be there. And again, we did a video last year where we talked about the different evolutions that are possible in the game that Eevee, the evolution Pokemon, doesn't even use. That could easily be used for getting the other half of the missing evolutions that we should have. As I firmly believe we should have an evolution of all the types, even in single format.
Yeah, I'm still believing that we are going to get some new evolution around Gen 10 or on Gen 10. And I was thinking about it, and it's you know what? We have a total of 8 to 9 evolutions. And if you want, I'm saying 9 because if you want to be one of those people that are coping and including as Gigantamax Eevee being one of the new evolutions, I feel maybe Generation 10, if it does happen, maybe we'll get, if it's considered 8, maybe we'll get 2 new evolutions. If it's considered 9, maybe we'll get 1 new evolution, just to make that number kind of closer to 10 EVs and forms, 10th generation. I like this.
I like this.
Yeah, that's just something I've been playing around with, but we'll see.
Moving along, we see the depictions of what looks like a Oni being chased by 3 new starters, which they obviously heavily hinted that we're gonna probably see. But the Pokeball also has little horns on it on the top of the billboard as they progress through. And then that's kind of where they leave it, and they show you depictions of the one Pokemon in the background, followed by what looks like obviously 3 starters, and then people in their yukatas. And the thing about the quote-unquote legendary Pokemon that we're going to be seeing in this particular expansion is that at one point they show eyes behind what looks like to be a mask. So my question is, if all of these different masks have something to do with it, what if it's like an Arceus type Pokemon where depending on the kind of mask it's wearing will determine its typing?
Damn, that's gonna be pretty interesting because of like the other legendary Pokemon that they announced alongside this one. It's like, oh man, are they both gonna have that type of gimmick maybe then, you know? Like, that'd be pretty cool. But I mean, I think it'll still be pretty neat because like if let's say like these mask things do become like part of like this possibly new gimmick thing, then man, I want to see who else gets these masks. And like another hot take, I love, out of those 3 Pokemon, I really love the monkey. What's his name? Monkey Dory, I think.
I don't know,
really
but it's growing on me.
At first I saw the design and I'm like, it's kind of weak, and then I just kept looking at it and I'm like, you know what, it's growing on me.
I like the design, how they're showing like all these new Pokemon that they're getting into the DLC, and I'm interested to see how they're gonna look like in the game once they actually show it.
Yeah, I mean, and the fact that I've got the main game, I don't even want to know what these things look like, if those are evolved Pokemon, if those are base form Pokemon, or what. Like, I don't even care. I just like I'm hyped to get this DLC in all earnestness. But before we keep going with that, let's move on to the second part of the announcement, which was the second part 2 of the DLC. And starting off, they show the main gate, and it's weird for them to muck with the Pokeball look, but if you look at this door, it's showing 2 Pokeballs semi-fused, and I don't know if that's just a design or if that's supposed to hint as to what we're looking at, because if you look at it, it either looks like an 8, which would have been appropriate for Generation 8. What is the 8 shape also referenced with? The infinity symbol, which kind of leads me into Kayla's territory of infinity energy and how she's got, and I'm going to tell you right now, she's got this amazing network going right now of just people who are talking and thinking and theorizing and brainstorming, and infinity energy has been a hot topic. So if this is an infinity symbol, that's a major thing.
I can 100% see that. Just quickly, my thoughts on this DLC from what we've seen. Obviously, it's the second DLC. We've seen less because it is further away, but I really like the sort of future motif. One of my favorite parts of any of the games was in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon with the Aether Foundation. How they were very high-tech, very futuristic for the region. And I'm glad that TPCI is actually going this way for a second DLC pass.
And then, of course, move forward, we have a look-see at some of the location of what DLC 2 will have, and there you'll see Mamoswine is on there, and you'll have Geodude in there. So now we know we're getting Geodude back. And then, of course, you see a trainer walking out to a battlefield and tossing the Pokeball, and behind them there's 4 other people. So this could either be another Battle Coliseum style game, or maybe a Frontier Brain type, which I'm kind of hoping more for. But of course, you see the trainers, you see other trainers, you see the starter Pokemon on the field, and so I'm actually looking forward to seeing what this DLC is all about. But it does feel like this is kind of a Frontier Brain type thing, doesn't it?
Okay, one thing I'm hoping for that, like a Battle Frontier Battle Stadium type deal. That could be really cool. We have needed a proper one for a very long time, especially for those who are into competitive, to test out teams. I mean, we've got tools like Showdown and all of that, but if you've already got the Mons built, you should be able to do it in-game.
I feel like if it is, it's going to be a very, very miniaturized version, or like a very watered down version, which is disappointing, but I mean, that's just that's my gut feeling right now.
I'm hoping they do more variants version of Paldean Whipper.
We might. I mean, they still kept introducing new stuff with the DLC. So, I mean, we got Urshifu out of 1, and he was a cool Pokemon. And then, of course, they move into, giving you the title for both, and then they give you a little sample of what we're looking at. So they give you the first legendary, and
There it is, the eyes.
It's the eyes behind the mask, which is what's getting me. And then, of course, we get the legendary of the second, which is the turtle, which we now know as Terapagos. And the thing about Terapagos is that the shell has the designs of all the typings.
Yeah, like all the Terra Crown typings, right?
No, just a very simplified form of all the typing symbols. So you got a fish, you've got the snowflake, you've got the circle for normal type, you've got the bow for fairies, the flame for fire, the grass for grass, obviously. Look at the lightning bolt,
right.
It's a fat lightning bolt. So, like, all of the typings are on the shell, but this is made of almost what looks like crystals. And it's got the Terra symbol right above it. With so little information that we got, there's just so much to speculate on this. Like, is this turtle going to have something like Libero Protean, where it can change its Terra typing at will? Can you really set the Terra typing if that's the case, based on a move that it uses or something like that? Like, there's so many questions, and I'm not going to lie, I really do think the turtle design, I love it.
But if you look at this poster itself, we've got the 3 starters. Skeledirge, Meowscarada, and Quakerval. But if you look to the right of it, we can see like fire, water, and grass. And that seems to be like something that would sit behind a character of some sort. So I think if we're going to get 3 new sort of starters, as it were, this would be where it is. Because I think those sort of elemental powers, if you want to call them that, would be tied to certain mons. So I think this in itself might be a bit of an Easter egg.
Oh, I see what you mean. I didn't even think about this. Yeah, because if you look at the left side of the image, you've got the 3 starters, and they've got their powers with effects going around them, but on the other side, it's just trainers, no characters. So I can definitely see them low-keying about to drop 3 new starting type Pokemon. Oh, that is genius, my friend. That is absolute genius.
That's gonna be really interesting, actually, because now that Chase is pointing that out, like, I do kind of see, like, I feel like the image is also kind of incomplete, maybe, like if they were trying to hide something still.
There's a lot of open dead space and effect where there shouldn't be. Like, there should be something right here in this water spot. Like, it's warped around something, but we don't see what.
Yeah, it's just a teaser. So
yeah, and I think one thing that solidifies it, or sort of gives it at least a leg to stand on, is the fact that we are visiting our quote-unquote sister academy. So I feel like DLC 2 is going to be a lot bigger than DLC 1 will.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll just like showing shields because Crown Tundra was bigger than Planet Armor. So can we talk about the first part of the Teal mask? So I'm curious to see how that creature's gonna look like behind the mask.
I am too, because like I was saying earlier, like while we were watching, its face is really shadowed out, so I don't think this might be the official artwork.
No, it's just a teaser. It's just a teaser for now. We won't.
Yeah,
see
yeah. It's just that, like, cause like I like how they're doing it, right? Like, they're showing us this Pokemon and they have like the mask covering part of its face. So like I feel like if anything, they will release. I mean, they better release another image, and then like, we actually do get to see its face, right? Like, cause like from what I'm making out of the shadowing, its face is probably going to be actually very lightly colored. Like,
okay, what typing do you guys think will be? I think it could be a grass dark. I'm hoping.
I don't want grass dark, honestly. I really don't want grass dark.
Maybe grass ghost.
I can do grass ghost, and like maybe grass fairy even. Honestly, like if
Yeah, I could see grass fairy as well.
like I was talking to one of my friends about this. So his like kind of hot take or like theory on it is like this new Pokemon this new mass Pokemon Ogerpon is gonna be like some type of Paradox Mimikyu. Like I see where he's going with it because of like the whole mask motif kind of thing, and he's trying to like disguise himself. But like
I was thinking the same thing. I
For
was
real?
actually thinking the same thing.
okay.
Because what's it doing with the mask? It's disguising itself, so it might have disguise.
I did see where he was going with it, and I honestly I would think that would be pretty cool.
Oh,
Because
Here's
like if we can't see its face behind that mask, maybe we'll have a clue as to how Mimikyu actually looks under the costume.
so what? You're talking about like the ability as illusions, like Zorak?
Oh yeah, I mean like maybe it can have that ability.
How about
Yeah,
this?
probably.
Remember Burmy? Remember the Pokemon Burmy?
Yes.
Oh,
right.
Totally haven't heard of that Pokemon. Totally non-existent in my eyes. Sorry,
Well,
Burmy fans.
Burmy had this unique mechanic where it would get a different cloak based on where it last battled, and if it evolved, that determined its typing for that evolution. So there were actually 3 different Burmy types that would evolve into a Wormadon. And what if the Ogerpon is the same way, where depending on where it last battled or where it's battling, it's going to have the mask to mimic whatever the terrain is to give it an advantage,
Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
Oh,
while
that would
still
be-
rocking disguise, because the two are not entwined.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, it's also got what look like Terra crystals from Area Zero in its mask, so maybe it's able to manipulate Terra energy to give it the appearance or fully change it, sort of similar to how Libero or Protean does, to different types.
That'd be pretty interesting and kind of tricky to play around, I think. Can you imagine? Well, I mean, I don't know how it would work in competitive, but like, imagine like competitive one actually does like base off the typing part based on where the player actually was battling last. So like that'd be kind of funny. So you don't know like what other people might be bringing up.
And the DLC is supposedly going to be dropping in fall and winter of this year. So I'm going to guess that we're going to see the first part either late October or early November. And we will see part 2 towards the end of December, probably around Christmas Day, if I'm not. Because winter starts on the 20th of December, roughly thereabouts.
Oh, okay. Have you guys pre-ordered the DLC yet by any chance? Like I know I did last night.
Not yet.
Okay.
I should.
So, actually, when you guys do, take a quick look at when you do make the purchase order, right? It'll tell you, like, it'll give you a message talking about like some of these things aren't going to be released yet for this DLC pack. The second one, however, actually has a date of like 4/20/24. So that surprised me a little bit because like as far as like as how I look at like releases for winter, I keep thinking that's usually like around January time. So like when I saw the trailer talk about winter 2023, I'm like, wait, didn't we just pass winter 2023 or are we still in winter 2023 technically speaking? So like that threw me off a lot until you kind of mentioned Draco, like winter kind of starts around December 20th. So like yeah, so that helps confirm stuff for me. But yeah, so like from what it sounds like, the latest that it seems like they will release part 2 would be next year in April, which is very, very surprising. Yeah, so like try keep a lookout on that. So like you can like help confirm for me because I don't remember what the first part 1 was. But I do have to agree, like from how they're wording everything, it does kind of sound like it's going to be like very like as coping, like as much copium I'm having right now for it to be released around like August, September. It really does feel like it's more likely going to come out like October and November.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening, or sort of an early January release for part 2, because I'm of the impression that we are going to get a DLC 3, maybe slightly shorter than the 2 that we're going to get. It's actually going to tie the story together and bring everything to somewhat of a conclusion, because I think that the development cycles have changed. So I think we'd maybe expect more DLC and game spread further apart, as opposed to having a game every, was it like 2 or 3 years?
No, I still think we're on that cycle, but we won't see Gen 10 till 2026 for the 30th anniversary.
That one probably makes a lot more sense too. But I think I'm in agreement with Chase here. Like, I feel like they might drop another DLC on us. Regardless, I don't know if it'll be like a part 1, part 2, like how this first one is. But I do feel like they're gonna drop another type of DLC. What they'll include in it, I have no clue. Like with all the returning Pokemon so far, we're like kind of like hitting like the 600, 700 mark, which I think is a lot more than what they.
Yeah, I remember it was estimated 200, around 230. I'm like, ooh, that's gonna be a lot. So it's just nice journey.
Well, I mean, given what we've seen in the pictures, we already know that we've already got about 30 or 40 of them already plotted out. I mean, you've got Geodude, you've got obviously Chimecho who's coming in, and in the image that they gave us, we saw Melodic, which is 2 right there, Vikavolt, which was 3, Ninetales coming back, so that's another 2, Yanma, that's 2, and then Shiftry is another 3, and then on the part 2, you're going to see Zebstrika, Alcremie.
Finally!
Whimsicott's coming back, we've got Metagross, Dugong, and somebody mentioned, great, Alcremie's coming back, how are we going to evolve this one? It was such a pain to get it all the different forms in the first game. Which is going to lead me to believe that if you transfer an Alcremie of a certain form, that's what it's going to keep evolving into.
Well, I mean, technically speaking, you can still do the spinning animation, right? It's still in the game.
Yeah,
so, like, I don't see any problems with it.
That should have been that should have been a sign right there when the spinning animation came back that Alcremie was going to be coming back.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping it could still do the Charizard pose too, though. But I guess not. Like, even if it's just like randomly, like it happens, like your character does the Charizard pose, you know, or the Leon Charizard pose.
No, I actually like the
Leon ain't champion no more.
Oh well.
That was pretty much the end of that. And then we're going to move on over to the Twitter announcement this week. We start with the character Liko, who has a gem that looks very similar to Terapagos as far as shape-wise, but it does have that terrestrialized symbol on it.
It does.
Bottom as well. It's got that star that's on forehead of Ogerpon's mask as well.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I didn't notice that.
Confirmed, she's Ogerpon. Let's go.
So yeah, my theory is like proper form change, terrestrial forms, because they emphasize that pendant. If you look, they put it front and center, and it seems like, so for Mega Evolution there was the keystone, and in the games the Protag wore it, I think it was on his wrist, but a lot of people wore it around their necks in a similar fashion.
And then, of course, there's the little symbol on her hair that kind of throws back to Ash and his caps.
Oh, she's definitely his daughter, 100%, without a doubt.
Well, there's a rumor that we're going to get to after this, too, that I was recently told about. And then, of course, we have Roy, the boy with a mysterious Pokeball, which we're going to call the SV Ball. Hopefully they don't treat it like the GS Ball and completely forget about it.
Oh, the GS Ball, yes.
Can I say something about this ball that's been bugging me? So in Heath's picture, Terapagos is sitting on top of a sphere. There's a crown there. This ball looks extremely similar to that sphere. Obviously, the front looks a bit different, which I think maybe we're looking at the sphere from behind.
Okay.
So I think that's going to tie into the DLC in some capacity. Yeah, I think it's going to play a similar role to the Origin Ball in Legends Arceus.
I could just see, Kurt running with, oh, here's that ball you left me. This does look nothing like the ball we left you. I made some changes. Leave me alone. But something that speaks to me, look at the kid's shirt. What do you see?
An unknown.
An unknown.
Yeah, unknown.
Yeah, in the shape of an A.
Oh, I was thinking P. I was actually thinking P.
No, I believe that's the A. You can't tell the top because of the sash that goes around his backpack, but I believe that is the A shape because if you look on the other side, it's got the a leg coming down.
Okay. Oh, okay. After looking at that too, like when I first saw this trailer, I also got Ruby Sapphire vibes. You know, like the markings that Kyogre and Groudon have. That was the other thing I was kind of seeing, like when I first saw this. But I see more of the unknown more than that.
And he wants to challenge Pokemon from the Legends. Then we have Freed and Captain Pikachu. But I think this is one of the first times they've introduced a professor before they've announced the game. I mean, we've got 3 different versions of Oak running around. Come on.
I think it is mentioned somewhere that Freed is gonna accompany them on their journey.
Yep. Which is the other thing that's also pretty interesting is the fact that this is the first time you're going to see Professor actually walking with our protagonist. But I'm still sticking to the fact that Captain Pikachu is the flying type Pikachu that we got when we first bought this game, because his little hat has little wings on it, and it looks like it's got the Terrestrialize symbol on there.
Oh yeah, no, I could believe that.
And then, of course, I firmly believe that they show some of the other characters. And we just see an Oshawott in the background, by the way.
Heck yeah.
Oh, yes.
Stay at Duat, though, please.
But one of the things that I find funny is this character here. And, like, it's them low-key telling us, yeah, black and white is coming. Because look at the dude's hair. It's black and white.
Half black, half white. And, of course, he has Ceruledge. So edgy. I love it.
My boy Armarouge needs some love, man.
Yeah, he does, too, though. He definitely does.
I'm sure he'll be in there.
In just this poster, you can see Elekid in the background, Charizard's Claw, you see Nosepath, Ceruledge, and there is something that... Yeah,
wait,
it's Alcremie on the back of Rockruff.
Alolan Mug, okay. Can see that.
Yeah, the Alolan Mug.
Also, can I just speculate a little bit? I think Liko is Ash's daughter, and I think Roy is Go's son. Because I believe at the end of and this might be spoilers, I'm not sure. I might be completely wrong about this, but Ash and Go their separate ways, and they mention something about seeing each other in the future or something along those lines. Maybe they're kids, or maybe they end up in the same region just by chance. They meet up and that's how their kids become friends, and then they start their journey together.
Or they don't end up meeting each other, but their children do instead. In the future, you know what I mean? Like one of those like coincidence kind of things, and then like later on maybe they find out, wait, your dad is who? And your dad is who? Really? Oh my god.
Well, I'm gonna throw something at you in a minute that might change that opinion. But I mean, in this poster that we see right here, we can see Alolan Muck, we can see Shuckle, which I do believe Shuckle is in the game. So we see Alcremie, which you know is coming back. Rockruff, Nosepass, we've got Chansey, we've got Slugma, but then you've got Snorunt on top of Metagross, which again, Metagross was shown in the DLC, which isn't in the game. You've got Noctowl, Rayquaza's up there. So I think here we can pretty much guess what's going to be coming back in the DLCs. So if we see Alolan Muck and we saw Geodude before, it looks like we might be able to pull our Cantonian and regional variants as well. So that's going to be awesome. But now for the monkey wrench, because I have been holding on to this one for a little bit. So Pokemon Animation Executive confirms Ash Ketchum will return.
Oh, as a special guest.
Oh, yeah, I vaguely remember seeing something about that. I didn't know if it was true or not.
Fear not, our backpack-wearing and cap-turning hero will be gone, but not for long. Although we know Ash will soon be replaced by Liko and Roy, it won't be forever. Yes, Ash Ketchum is coming back. According to anime director Kunihiko Yuyama, and I apologize if I butchered the name, Ash's departure from Pokemon will only be temporary. Speaking to the spring 2023 issue of Otomedia magazine via Dogatsu, Yama says that Ash will return in the future, although he stopped short of confirming how and when Ash will be back. It makes sense that the character who carried the series for 26 years will be back someday. It's a bit like Meredith Grey leaving Grey's Anatomy. No one is buying that it's forever. For the time being, Yuyama is keen to divert attention to Liko and Roy instead of hyping Ash's return before he's even left. Ash might have finally achieved his goal of being a Pokemon master, but that doesn't mean his story is over just yet. So that speaks volumes into itself, because they're pointing that we're going to see our original protagonist return. We're going to see our original protagonist be doing things that have yet to be done, but the how and the when has been left blank. So maybe they will do a time skip. Maybe these are Ash's, maybe one of this is Ash's kid with whomever he decided to be a dad with, and then since that kid has gone off on their journey, they'll start a whole new series where it's in a much older Ash, a seasoned Ash, just going to reclaim his former glory as a Pokemon master. Who knows? It can also just be the fact that it's just another kid who came from the same town, and this story is happening at the same time that Ash.
No, I don't think it's related to like the original protagonist, because they said Gout This is Paldea only takes place a couple years after previous one, which is Galar, right? So.
Is that what they said? I thought that was never
Yes.
confirmed, like how many years
Yes.
ago that was.
Sure, exactly, but I think I heard about it. But they're about similar, like Galar and Paldea, like they're not that far off. So
Yeah, like I know where you're coming from too, because like I know they have that book in the library that talks about the events that happen with beads. I don't know if it's beads actually, but the copper Raja that breaks the statue.
Mhm.
So when I saw that, I was thinking, okay, so there's definitely a time skip that happens, definitely in the future, or at least compared to like the Galar games, it's in the future. But I
which
don't
is
think
why
it
we
ever.
get like Gen 8
I don't think it ever
Pokemon, like,
said
from-
like how long like ago that was. So that's why I've been trying to
okay.
figure out when, like where the timeline is
Because I would explain like why we have some of the Gen 8 Pokemon like Applin, his evolution, Barraskewda, and the Puke evolution.
I mean, there's a lot. There's actually a lot to unpack. But yeah, that was just something that I wanted to throw out there since we were discussing the new anime. We don't entirely know, and we're just speculating. And until we actually get more information, that's all we're ever going to be, is just speculating. But the word is that Ash is going to be coming back. Whether it's still as a 10-year-old, a slightly older one like they did for the Sun and Moon games for the Battle Tree, or if it's as an adult where he's doing his own thing again.
I feel like if Ash is returning, I feel like it can go like one or two ways. Like they mean it for like any new Pokemon movie that's coming out. Like maybe they'll still just use Ash as like the main character or like the main focus character in that movie. And then two, if he does come back in the anime, my way of like looking at it is like maybe he still does show up, but like he's not like the main character still yet. Like maybe he's like the hermit character, or like the character that guides like these two new protagonists or something in some way or another. Like he'll just like show up every now and then, like that's my take on it, like on how they would implement Ash still being in the series or something.
Ash has been 10 years old for longer than I have been alive. So if anything, that proves age is just a state of mind.
And with that brings our episode to a close. What are your thoughts about the Pokemon Day Presents trailer and about the news of the anime? Do you think we might have hit on some stuff? Were we off the mark? Let us know down below. Also, be sure to share, like, and subscribe. And as always, have a wonderful day. Bye!
Bye.
Bye bye.